Welcome back now to our next conversation. We'll see the Central Bank of Nigeria has injected a total of $9.229 billion in the official foreign exchange market to defend the naira in the first half of the year. The amount is 58.3% or $3.4 billion higher than the $5.83 billion intervention by the Apex Bank in the market in the 2021 corresponding period. Well, joining us now is Gospel Obele, Chief Economist at Streetnomics. Great to have you on the program.
Hi, Laddie. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today.
Good afternoon. So I see most African countries are struggling, right now with FX inflows. What do you think is the reason for this?
Well, to a very large extent, African economies haven't really recovered from the pandemic. Yes, there's broken supply chain and overall slowdown in economic activities. I've also seen again by default, which has also always been the narrative, is the fact that we're not really a competitive region in terms of growing the supply base of foreign exchange through product and economic regional competitiveness, as the case may be. So that's another reason. A third angle to the conversation would be some form of recent withdrawal of policy stimulus and support, by the international community. Number one, due to the Russian-Ukraine war, and much more recently due to the growing cost of living slash, the looming recession at hand. So there increasing narrative as to where foreign exchange or in quote foreign receipts will go to, what are priority centers, what are priority economies, what are priority sectors globally that these funds should go to. So the world is thinking more around building a relatively healthy compromise around what's happening than keeping true to its stimulus packages within the context of money supply or support for the African economy context. Yeah.
I would see that FX demand for medical tourism, school fees, and others have jumped about 154%. So how can the central bank go on defending the naira at this rate?
The central bank cannot defend the naira. That's the truth. Because what we're dealing with is a long history of both fiscal indiscipline and some form of clusterized or use of policies that are largely incoherent in terms of driving monetary policy effectiveness or improved currency valuation and all that. At the base of this is the fact that we are a largely unproductive economy. So when you juxtapose all of these dynamics with increasing the fact that there's an increasing FX demand on a daily basis, it sort of rationalizes reasons why the central bank cannot win the war, against FX shortage. And also to state that the central bank has been put to a very large extent, both by default and by a series of policies that it's made recently and over time. The central bank has positioned more reactively, to dealing with the situation than proactively. So Nigerians are moving. There is also Italian migration conversation on the table. FX demand is also within the context of this conversation. So in terms of a way around this issue is the fact that there has to be a much more collaboration, within the Apex Bank institution and the fiscal authorities, especially at sub-national and federal level, to seek more structural-led solutions to this challenge. And there are already low-hanging fruits, all right? From the H1 2022 numbers, realize that even the non-oil sector contributed at least 1.1 trillion naira more in revenue than the oil and gas sector. So the economy is already also diversified as well. 57% is we have a contribution of the services sector contributes 57% of the Nigerian GDP, and non-oil share holds almost about 94 to 95% range of GDP activity. So the figures are there, the opportunities are there, the potential is there, but the fact that we keep chasing what's not lost, is where the big conversations or the big worry is. And we've seen in recent times the policies by the central bank has been largely disenabling of trying to gain relief or sort of trying to curb the inflation menace than empowering in context there.
Yeah, most central bankers are actually struggling, at this time. But we did get that circular from the CBN on over-the-counter cash withdrawals, putting those limits on it. What do you think are the pros and cons in your view?
Well, it's a mixed reality conversation. The good side of first to say that the central bank has been seeking to control money supply for a while now. Ever since the pandemic. Illicit capital flows hit about 200 billion weekly during the pandemic, and these were alarming numbers. You have counterfeit notes. You have a lot of these conversations in the Nigerian economy, and there's a form of security downside of its security risk as a result of this huge money in supply or this artificial money in supply. But that actually shows us that there are deeper issues or challenges to deal, which would hardly is around leakages in the monetary system and a fiscal economy literally sort of around tripping the system in one way or the other. So those structural issues exist. But however, the central bank has positioned largely to withdraw money from supply, and it started that by the redesign of the notes much more recently, and then with this on the withdrawal policy. And the end game for the central bank is to be in control of money supply, which is very good in context. But then again, it's a very conventional monetary positioning to manage prices, price stability, and the inflation issue that we have right now. I do not think, I mean, between the last 4 5 years, even 6 years, we've seen more of 1,000 to 500 naira notes in supply. And that has reinformed and shaped pricing dynamics in the Nigerian economy. So trying to introduce 1/5 of those notes, which are 200 naira notes, to deal with an economy that's already worse off or cost ravaged or faced with huge cost of living in crisis and, and shrinking income disposables, it's worrisome in terms of the impact on the bottom line, and that's talking about Nigerians in context. So it may make sense in terms of CBN seeking to control the dynamics of things, but in a bid to control, we've realized that all the layer of policies have their huge side effects. Let's not forget also that the inflationary commission we have is faced with a looming food crisis, and we've had flood issues recently. We also have a worsening currency argument as well. So I'm actually looking out for how this policy will play out. I do not really think it's sustainable. It may look like a good short-term pathway for the central bank right now due to the risk involved, but I do not think it's strategically going to help the average Nigerian move towards prosperity or curb or manage the impact of a worsening cost of living crisis. I mean, take for instance, a bag of pure water is 300 naira. So that is even past the average the denominated amount that the ATM will be dispensing. That's quite worrisome. And you also want to understand that there's likely possibility of cash stack in the economy as we move on into the coming months than a cashless economy in context, in as much as e-transactions will improve. Yeah.
All right, great insights as always from you, Gospel Obele, Chief Economist at Streetnomics. Thank you so much. We'll keep watching and see how all these policies unfold. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me as well.